talk to us about the straw man. What exactly is the straw man?
The straw man is your name written in block letters. Very simple. It was done at birth. What the government did, or the corporations now, not government, what they did is they took your birth certificate and made a second birth certificate with a trust, a SISTI QV trust. They made it in all block letters. And for them to interact with you, they have to interact with you as a fiction, because they're all corporations. Corporations cannot interact with real people. So they made a straw man. They call it a straw man because it has no soul and is spiritually dead.
So let's break this down. You're born in the hospital room. A certificate of live birth is issued.
What happens is that she has to register the child's birth. She has to go to the registration office and register. If she does not register, she will be taken to court, according to what the law is saying. They take the birth certificate that she registered as an informant then that she has the child, and they made a duplicate in all block letters. She didn't, they did.
So they've turned a living child now into a trust,
fiction.
into a fiction.
Trust, yes.
Which has a certain value allocated to it.
Value, yes. Millions of dollars or pounds.
And that trust, let's call it a bond, because that effectively becomes traded thereafter.
Yes, it becomes warehouse bond for money.
So every human being that has been registered to the state or the crown by the mother ends up becoming some kind of a bond that is traded on the stock market.
Yes.
Without you ever knowing it.
Yes, without disclosing. And this is happening since the early 1900s. What they've done is really fraud, because they're fraudulently taking your child's birth certificate and make it into a dead entity. The dead entity birth certificate is making billions of pounds or dollars, depends on which country you're in. So your straw man is considered a dead entity, and the corporation can interact with it. If you have to go to court, it's not going to be in your real name because they don't have it. All they have is the dead entity, and they interact with that.
So who is reaping the rewards of the value of your bond as it's being traded?
I would say the Federal Reserve, which belongs to the royal family, and the HMRC, IRS, these are the people where your money goes once you are registered. The mother registered you, that's where the money goes, to them.
Okay, let's talk about the difference between your signature and your autograph.
Okay, a signature is under the UCC, which is the fiction, the straw man. Your autograph is the real person. So if you go up to a movie star and says, "Can I have your autograph?" You never say, "Can I have your signature?" It's always autograph because you have flesh and blood. Signature is what you're signing every time they can go into your account and take money.
And every time you do sign a piece of paper, you can bet that that signature of yours is being monetized, securitized.
It is. By the banks, by everybody that you, wherever you sign, credit cards, everything that you sign, they're getting funds off your trust fund from that birth certificate.
Okay, so fees and all sorts of things and invisible costs are being discharged against your birth bond in that sense?
Yes.
Without you ever knowing about it?
Without you ever knowing about it, yes. It was never disclosed to you. All this stuff was done without disclosing, and it's deception, it's fraud, and it's it's happening every day to everyone that's outside the inner circle.
Okay, let's talk about the court system, because invariably your signatures lead you into a courtroom at some point, you know, whether it's for, and under the aegis of the court system, whether it's a marriage, a birth, a death, a registration of land, whatever. So we understand a little about the distinction between the signature and the autograph. What exactly is a court of law?
Well, at the moment we don't have a court of law. We have a color of law, which is fiction. So when you go into a court system here or America, you walk into a system where there is no law. So it is lawless. So when you go in there and you speak to somebody doing business as a judge, there is no judge. You could ask the judge to see his oath. He doesn't have one.
He's a cashier.
Yeah, he's a banker.
A banker.
Yes. So when you sign any papers in the court, that's when he gets paid out of your 60 QV trust on your birth certificate. That's where he gets the money. If you go into the court, you still lose because it is not a court of law for you.
In a situation like that, when should you use your signature and sign something, and when shouldn't you?
There's a special way of, under the UCC, if we go back to that, there's a special way of signing without responsibility for your signature. So that if you sign in the special way according to the UCC, you're not responsible for anything that's on the paper.
Okay. Now, for the layman, describe UCC. What are we talking about?
Okay.
What is the UCC?
The UCC is a set of codes that was set up over 100 years ago by lawyers. And with the Uniform Commercial Code comes contract law. It's all to do with contract. So we are not under any law. We're just under contract. Someone could call you up and says, oh, would you like to contract with me to get TV license or to get something that you need, and you contract. Telephone, everything is contract, everything. And under the UCC, you do not have to sign. A stamped signature or a typed up signature is considered signed under the UCC. So when you get a letter in the mail and it has no signature, or it just have a stamped signature, then it is considered signed. The UCC is very, very important for people to learn about what's going on with their lives, because we are under contract law, no other law. There is no law at all. In America, the court system is operated under military. When you walk into a courtroom, I don't care which courtroom, if it's a higher court or a lower court, they're under the military. Now you're walking in there and you're not a military member, and you're not told that you've been tried under the military. If you mention the Constitution, the judge says it does not apply in my courtroom. But you don't know what he's saying, because you don't know what they're doing to you when you're there.
And all of that language is designed to confuse the hell out of you.
Yes, it's designed under the UCC, and they know. They know what they're doing, and they know how to manipulate you.
So you're saying all judges are very schooled and versed in UCC?
Yes.
They're taken special training
Yes.
schools in order to learn this?
Yeah, the president appoints all the federal judges in America. And they go to Scottsdale, Arizona and Reno, Nevada to train how to apply this fraud contract in the courtroom.
And in the United Kingdom?
The United Kingdom, majority of the judges here in the United Kingdom are not judges. They're just doing business. They might be a retired lawyer. They're doing business as judge.
And so-called judges in Malawi and in Canada?
All of them, exactly the same system. They're under the UCC.
Okay, I want to talk about some mundane issues. Who owns your car?
The DVLA in England.
In the United Kingdom?
Yes. Department of
Vehicle licensing?
Licensing
Right.
Agency.
Okay.
Yes. Well, the DVLA owns the car. It tells you on your registration, you are not the owner. You are just the registered keeper. Now, if you look up registered keeper, it says the person who is responsible for taking care of the vehicle, pay the taxes, pay the license, pay the insurance and take care of it. But the DVLA could take it from you anytime they feel like, crush it, they could clamp it.
Because once you've registered it, you've handed it over to the Crown of the state.
That's right, yes.
It's no longer yours.
It's not yours, never.
So again, when you buy a car, you are invited to defraud yourself by then handing it over to the Crown of the state unwittingly.
Yes, because it's fraud, and they're committing this fraud, and they're not letting you know what they're doing. They make millions, hundreds of millions. The highway belongs to us. It says you have to pay to drive on the road. You don't. The DVLA is just a corporation set up by the Crown. All these corporations are set up by the Crown. The HMRC, the DVLA, they all do the same thing. So if you look carefully at your registration, it tells you right there.
And in the United States of America, it's not the DVLA. What's the equivalent?
It's the Department of Motor Vehicles.
And again, they invite you to
Yes.
register the vehicle to them.
Yes.
They become the owner.
They become the owner. The only reason to have a license when you drive a car is if you're doing taxi service or doing it for business. But if you're driving for your personal use, going to work, going to the market, take your family out, going on vacation, that you don't require a license.
There is no law that requires
No.
you. You can move about the surface of the earth unmolested.
Yes.
That's law.
That is the law. Yes, that is the law. But that's not what they're
But
telling
these
you.
fictions, these costumes, these people wielding batons and guns and tasers, they've somehow been given license by the government to apprehend you, arbitrarily stop and search you, terrorize you, rip you out of your vehicle. Who gave the traffic enforcement officers the right to stop and apprehend people going about their God-given business?
The corporations that they're under. The police are not constables. And the Queen took an oath to represent the sovereign people, which she's not doing. She's now a corporation herself. So the police is under corporate. They're not constables. Constables are the people that beats the street and get to know your neighborhood and speak to the people.
Keeps the peace.
Keeps the peace, yes. But they're not constables, they're corporate police. If you call a police officer and you know whose side they're on, if you call a police officer and a bailiff is at your door, they will tell you they cannot come because it's a civil matter. But if the bailiff calls them, they will come. That means that they're not working for you, period.
They're working for the parent corporation.
They're working for the corporation, yes. They're corporate police.
How many of the police do you think know this and understand this distinction?
I think 90%.
Do you really?
I do. I do.
In the United States and in...
And here, yes. Yes, 90% of the police know they're corporate police.
But surely then they understand that they are in serious breach of their foundational oath. And they should thereby surely understand that the Queen of England is in serious breach of her coronation oath, which requires her to intervene if her parliament or government is conducting any cruel and unusual punishments against the people. And it's my understanding that being stopped going about your business in the street and dragged out of your vehicle and beaten with a baton for whatever reason, that to me by definition is cruel and unusual punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but they're given that permission to do that by the corporation they're in. They are given. If they were not given that permission, they could not have done that. They could not drag you out of your car or molest you or take you to the station for no reason.
But it's not a law that gives them the right, it's a statute, it's a technocratic, words on paper, statutes that have allowed them contractually to go ahead and beat the citizenry, right?
Yes.
But it's not lawful.
No, it's not.
It's entirely
not.
unlawful.
It's legal and it's fraud. Fraudulent activities, and they're being backed up by their corporate headquarters. So you cannot win because there's always somebody there to protect them, and they know that.
So let's drill down into this. A policeman is there and should be able to respond to a living soul doing injury against another living soul. If they witness that, they have every right to intervene. In the same way that you and I can conduct a citizen's arrest. If we see that somebody's being harmed, we should step in and try to intervene. But that's really as far as it goes. They have no business trying to commercialize human beings and penalize us for walking across streets or for not stopping at an amber light or whatever. All of that stuff is just nonsense dreamt up by the corporation.
It is.
Right.
Yes, it is. It's all fraud. Everything they do, and that's why they're giving the opportunity to do this to the sovereign people, because the sovereign people are ignorant of the Uniform Commercial Code and contract law and how these people operate. They go into the court and they do the same thing. You tell them, don't go, even if you don't go into the court, they still fine you for the same thing as if you go into the court. But if you go into the court and the police takes you there, then you never win unless you know the law. And they know that you do not know the contract law and that you're under contract and you're walking into a trap. You go in there and the police or whoever is going in there with you, it's always, they're the ones who win. You never win. Let's, for instance, say you're driving down the street, you have not hurt anyone, and you got stopped by the police. And the police breathalyze you and says, I have to take you in or I have to fine you. Or both of those. Who did you hurt? Who did you hurt? Who are you going to be paying this money to? You didn't hurt anyone.
There's no victim.
There's no victim. You have to be a victim under the common law.
For there to be a crime.
For there to be a crime.
It's as simple as that.
It is as simple as that, because to give you a ticket or to book you and take you to the station, who did you hurt? There is no one that you have hurt.
That's just a commercial penalty.
It is a commercial penalty.
Okay, so we're getting the picture here. The court systems, the justice system, the policing system, all of these systems are designed to commercialize human beings, harvest them monetarily.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Very, very little of that expenditure, that energy goes towards keeping the peace.
Oh, none of it goes towards
No.
keeping the peace. They don't keep the peace. All they do is what they do, they create the problem and then they find the solution.
And then sell you that solution.
Yes,
And then penalize you if you don't accept the solution.
that's right.
Right, sounds like a very rigged casino to me, rotten to the core.
It is.
And it seems to me that the average human being would, if they understood this, would utterly reject this system.
Of
If
course.
they understood it.
Of course.
But of course most people are completely indentured to it,
Yes.
are mind controlled,
Yes.
reading the newspapers, watching the television, and repeating verbatim the bullshit that's taught to them.
Yes.
So the truth is, it seems to me that human beings are not predisposed toward hurting one another. We don't enjoy going to war.
No.
We don't enjoy
No.
hurting each other. In the main, most people get along and just want to get along.
Of course.
But the systems conspire
Yes.
with a model of scarcity economics and drive war and disease and poverty.
Of course. That's the only way they can make money. When this prime minister said she's going to give 300 billion to the common market, where do you think she's getting the money? Not from your wages that you pay taxes on. That's a different set of money. She gets it from your trust fund, from your birth certificate. That's where they get the money to build the roads and do everything you could think of.
So they're discharging billions and billions and billions of dollars against our birth bonds without
Yes.
ever disclosing that to us,
Of course.
without there ever being an audit or any accounting for it.
Of course, because nobody's asking.
Right.
And even if you do ask, they give you a hard time to tell you about it.
So if you try to go and discover your own birth bond, let's call it that, and you try to discover the true value, how does one go about doing that?
You apply to the Federal Reserve for it. There's forms that you can fill in, and you can, once you find the bonds and the serial numbers, you can get it from the Federal Reserve because they have it.
And you can then discover the value of your bond?
Of course.
And the average, let's say, 50-year-old in the United States would be worth what?
A 50-year-old in the United States, it could be worth hundreds of millions. But one comment, if you go on the website and you put in your birth certificate number, and it comes up only one, you have hundreds of thousands of people are trading on it.
Right.
That's only one that you know of.
I think what I'm getting at is, what do you think it would be the median value of the average 50-year-old by the time they turn 50 in the United States? What is being traded
I would
in
say,
their name?
maybe $1 billion, over $1 billion.
Right.
has been traded.
Okay.
Because when I checked, on one of my numbers is over 283,000 people are trading on it. Can you imagine how much money that is?
So when we hear that the US has a debt of $23 trillion or whatever it is, that fictitious money was all pumped out of the air, but effectively it was discharged against the value of the
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Right, so that's where the fiction emerges.
Yes.
And it becomes this huge imbalance that no one quite understands. How on earth do we get that much money?
They just made it up as they go along and tell us what they want to tell us.
Yes, but they'll validate the making up of that money by, on paper, discharging it against the value of
Yes.
the citizenry.
And the citizens' gold, our sovereign gold. We have gold. For every pound that if you weigh 8 pounds at birth, you have 8 pounds of gold set aside for you
Assigned to you by whom?
by the crown.
In England.
Yes.
And the United States?
Yes.
By the Treasury.
Yes.
And
Because the United States is owned by the crown.
let's okay. So let's say there's 200 odd nations of the world. There's hundreds and hundreds of small island states, but there's about 200 nation states, big nation states. They are all of them a franchise of the Anglo-American Corporation.
Yes.
Let's call it that.
Yes.
And that the Anglo-American Corporation is an extension of the British Crown.
Crown. Yes.
And the British Crown is collateralized by what, or backed by what?
Gold. And by the people. The hundreds of millions of people. The British Empire has just went on the ground. It's still there.
Controls the Bank of International
Yes,
Settlements, it
yes.
controls all the reserve banks around
Yes.
the world and so
Yes.
on.
Yes.
Correct, correct. So at what point do you believe the world sees through this grotesque fiction and then addresses the source code and then writes it?
I think if people get to know what the UCC and the contract law does, and your straw man is your main problem. Once you can control your straw man, and it is yours and not theirs anymore, then you're in the right
This is
path.
beautiful what you just said. You're talking about reclaiming the fiction
Fiction.
that was established,
Yes.
the false light.
Yes.
Reclaiming the false light that was established in your name,
Yes.
given your identity, so to speak, at birth,
Yes.
without your
Knowledge.
knowledge.
Yes.
You're talking about us needing to reclaim that false light and step into ourselves, our true selves,
Yeah.
as a people of the world,
Yes.
in order to reclaim reality from the fiction.
Yes.
That's powerful.
Yes, it is. And that's what I think everyone needs to do. All the sovereign people that's in poverty and whatever they put us in, that's what we need to do. We need to reclaim that what they are making money on. That is ours. Then you wouldn't have wars, you wouldn't have people fighting for money, you wouldn't have poor people, everybody